The Counterfeit Conspiracy. A Frank Murray Investigation. Narrated by Frank Murray, private investigator. Money is a funny thing. We spend our whole lives chasing it, working for it, killing ourselves to get more of it. But at the end of the day, it's just paper and ink. The only thing that gives it value is our collective agreement that it's worth something. Break that agreement, and you've got the most dangerous crime there is, counterfeiting. The name's Frank Murray, and I've been working as a private investigator in this city for 15 years. My office sits above Chen's Golden Dragon on 4th Street, where the smell of Kung Pao chicken has become part of my DNA. I've seen a lot of my time, cheating spouses, missing persons, the occasional murder. But I'd never dealt with counterfeit money until a cold Tuesday morning in November, when a man walked into my office carrying a briefcase full of fake hundreds. He was mid-40s, wearing a wrinkled suit that had seen better days, with the kind of nervous energy that comes from not sleeping for a week. His eyes darted around my shabby office like he was expecting someone to burst through the door at any moment. "Mr. Murray," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "my name is Thomas Brennan. I need your help, and I need you to be very, very discreet." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the one I'd finally replaced after the Riverside Club case. "Have a seat. Tell me what's going on." Thomas sat down and placed a briefcase on my desk. He opened it, and I found myself looking at more cash than I'd ever seen in one place. Stacks of $100 bills, neatly bundled, probably $200,000 if I had to guess. "That's a lot of money," I said carefully. "You know, most people keep that in a bank." "It's not real," Thomas said. "None of it is real." I picked up one of the bills and held it up to the light. It looked perfect, the watermark, the security thread, the color-shifting ink. If this was fake, it was the best fake I'd ever seen. "Where did you get this?" "From my brother." Thomas's hands shook as he closed the briefcase. "My brother Martin. He's an engraver, or he was. Worked for a printing company for 20 years. Specialized in security features, anti-counterfeiting measures. He knew everything about how real money is made." "Let me guess," I said. "He decided to put that knowledge to use." Thomas nodded miserably. 6 months ago, Martin lost his job. Company downsizing. He's got a wife, 2 kids, a mortgage he couldn't pay. He was desperate. And when people are desperate, they make bad choices. He started printing fake money. Not just him. There's a whole operation. Martin's the engraver, but there's someone providing the supplies, the paper, the ink, the equipment. Someone distributing the bills. Someone running the whole thing. Thomas leaned forward. "Mr. Murray, my brother called me 3 days ago. He said he wanted out. Said things had gotten too dangerous. That the people running this operation weren't just criminals. They were murderers. He was going to give me evidence, proof of everything, so I could take it to the FBI. What happened? He never showed up to our meeting. I went to his house. It was ransacked. His wife and kids were gone. I've been calling his phone for 3 days, nothing. Mr. Murray, I think they killed him. And I think they're looking for me because Martin told them he'd given me this money as proof." I sat back in my chair, which still groaned, but at least didn't threaten to collapse anymore. Counterfeiting was federal jurisdiction, Secret Service and FBI territory. But if Thomas's brother was dead and there was conspiracy involved, someone needed to find the truth before more bodies piled up. "Why come to me?" I asked. "Why not go straight to the feds?" "Because I don't know who to trust. Martin said there were cops involved, federal agents maybe. He said the operation was protected, that they had people in positions of power. If I go the wrong person, I'm dead." Thomas's eyes pleaded with me. "You have a reputation, Mr. Murray. People say you're honest, that you can't be bought. I need someone like that." I looked at the briefcase full of fake hundreds and thought about my bank account, which was healthier than usual but not healthy enough to turn down a case. I thought about Thomas's brother Martin, possibly dead because he'd tried to do the right thing. I thought about counterfeit money flooding the streets, undermining the economy, hurting everyone. "I'll take the case," I said, "but I'm bringing in someone I trust. Detective Sarah Chun, LAPD. She's clean, I guarantee it. And if there are federal agents involved, We'll need someone with a badge to navigate those waters. Thomas hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but please, Mr. Murray, find my brother. Find out what happened to him. I will. I promised. But, Thomas, you need to disappear for a few days. Go somewhere safe, somewhere these people can't find you. And don't tell anyone where you're going. After Thomas left, without the briefcase, which I locked in my newly functional filing cabinet, I called Sarah Chun. Frank Murray calling on a Tuesday morning. She answered. This can't be good. When is it ever good? I need your help with something big. Counterfeiting ring, possible murder, and maybe some corrupt cops or feds involved. There was a pause. You know how to pick them, Frank. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Sarah showed up with coffee. The good kind from the place 3 blocks over, not the sludge from my ancient coffee maker. We sat in my office, and I laid out everything Thomas had told me. Counterfeiting is Secret Service jurisdiction, Sarah said, examining one of the bills. But if there's murder involved, that's our case. And if there really are dirty agents, we need to be careful who we bring in. My thoughts exactly. Where do we start? Sarah thought for a moment. Martin Brennan. We need to find out if he's alive or dead. I'll run him through the system. See if there are any missing persons reports, hospital admissions, anything. You should check out his house. See what the ransacking left behind. Already planning on it. Frank, Sarah said seriously, if there really is a conspiracy here, if there are federal agents involved, this could get dangerous. More dangerous than usual. Sarah, I had guns pointed at me in 3 of my last 4 cases. Dangerous is becoming my brand. She smiled despite herself. Just be careful. I've saved your life 3 times this year already, for seems excessive. After Sarah left to work her contacts, I drove out to Martin Brennan's house in the suburbs. It was a modest place, 2-story colonial, small yard, the kind of house that represents the American dream for people who work hard and play by the rules. The front door was closed but unlocked. I let myself in. Thomas hadn't been exaggerating about the ransacking. The place looked like a tornado had hit it. Furniture overturned, drawers emptied, cushions sliced open. Whoever had been here was looking for something specific, and they'd been willing to destroy everything to find it. I moved through the house carefully, checking each room. The kids' rooms were the worst. Toys scattered, clothes everywhere, even the mattresses pulled off the beds. The master bedroom was similarly destroyed, but it was the basement that told the real story. Martin's workshop was down there, and it had been hit hardest. There was equipment, printing presses, engraving tools, chemical baths. Or there had been. Now there were just empty spaces where things had been removed, along with scorch marks where someone had tried to burn evidence. On the workbench, partially hidden under some debris, I found a notebook. Martin's handwriting filled the pages. Dates, amounts, distribution points. It was a ledger of the entire counterfeiting operation. And on the last page, a name, Warehouse 47, Maritime District. Final delivery November 15th. That was tomorrow night. I photographed every page of the notebook and sent the images to my phone. Then I heard a sound upstairs. Footsteps, multiple people, trying to be quiet but not quite succeeding. Someone else had come to search Martin's house, and I had a feeling they wouldn't be happy to find me here. I've been in tight spots before, but being trapped in a basement while unknown hostiles searched the house above me was a new kind of tense. I looked around for exits. There was a small window at ground level, but I'd have to move the workbench to reach it, and that would make noise. The footsteps were getting closer to the basement door. I could hear voices now. 2 men, maybe 3, discussing what they were looking for. Boss said the brother might have left something. One voice said, "Check everything." The door to the basement opened. Footsteps on the stairs. I did the only thing I could do. I hid behind the furnace and hoped they'd be sloppy in their search. The first man came down, followed by a second. Both were wearing dark suits. Both had the kind of build that comes from regular gym time and possible steroid use. They weren't cops. Cops have a way of moving, a way of searching that comes from training. These guys were muscle, pure and simple. "Nothing down here but burnt equipment," the first one said. "Looks like someone already cleaned out." Check anyway. Boss wants to be sure. They started searching, and I knew it was only a matter of seconds before they found me. I was reaching for the gun in my ankle holster when my phone buzzed in my pocket. Loud. Way too loud. Both men spun toward the furnace. Someone's here. I came out with my hands up, gun pointed at the floor. Easy, fellas. I'm just a PI looking into a missing person case. The first guy pulled his own gun. Drop it. Now. I set my gun on the ground and straightened up. Who are you guys? FBI? Secret Service? We're the people who are going to kill you if you don't answer our questions, the second man said. He was bigger, with a scar running down his left cheek. What are you doing here? Like I said, missing person case. Thomas Brennan hired me to find his brother Martin. You guys seen him? Scarface smiled, and it wasn't friendly. Martin Brennan is dead. Has been for 3 days. Shot himself rather than face what was coming. His family, too, murder-suicide. Tragic. My blood ran cold. If that was true, if Martin and his family were dead, then this whole case had just gotten a lot darker. But something didn't add up. Thomas said Martin had called him 3 days ago, that he was alive and wanted to give him evidence. Unless Thomas was lying, or unless these guys were. Where are the bodies? I asked. In the river, Scarface said, where you're about to end up if you don't tell us what you know. Did Brennan give you anything? Papers? Evidence? Money? I don't know what you're talking about. Scarface moved closer, his gun now pointed at my head. Wrong answer. The gunshot that followed wasn't from his gun. It came from the top of the stairs, followed by Sarah Chen's voice. LAPD, drop your weapons. Scarface and his partner spun toward the stairs, and I used the distraction to dive for my own gun. The basement erupted in gunfire. Scarface shooting at Sarah. Sarah returning fire. Me rolling behind the workbench and coming up with my .38. When the smoke cleared, Scarface was on the ground with a bullet in his shoulder. His partner was face down with his hands behind his head, and Sarah was coming down the stairs with her service weapon trained on both of them. You okay, Frank? She asked, not taking her eyes off the suspects. Define okay, I said, my ears ringing from the gunfire. How did you know I was here? Because I know you, and I knew you'd go to Martin's house. When I saw the SUV parked out front with government plates, I figured you might need backup. She kicked Scarface's gun away from him. Turns out I was right. Backup units arrived within minutes. Sarah identified the two men as federal agents. Secret Service, assigned to the counterfeiting task force. Which meant Thomas's brother had been right. The conspiracy went all the way up. At the precinct, Sarah and I sat in an interrogation room with Scarface, whose real name was Agent Dennis Porter, after the doctors had patched up his shoulder. His partner, Agent Tom Vickers, was in another room, and both of them were looking at attempted murder charges on top of whatever else they'd been involved in. You want to tell us about the counterfeiting operation? Sarah asked, or should we just charge you with murder and attempted murder and let the feds sort out the rest? Porter stared at the table. I want a lawyer. You'll get one, Sarah said. But here's the thing, Dennis. Your partner is in the other room right now, and he's not asking for a lawyer. He's talking about the operation, about who's running it, about who's taking the fall. And I'm guessing he's not volunteering to be that person. It was a bluff. Vickers hadn't said anything, but Porter didn't know that. He shifted in his chair, wincing from his shoulder wound. If I talk, I want immunity, he said. We'll see what we can do. Start talking. Porter took a deep breath. The operation started about a year ago. It's run by a guy named Vincent Caruso. He's not Secret Service, not FBI. He's just a criminal, but a smart one. He recruited Martin Brennan because Martin had the skills. Then he recruited some of us, agents who could provide protection, who could make sure the investigation never got too close. How many agents? I asked. 6 of us, spread across Secret Service and FBI. Caruso paid well, $200,000 each, plus a cut of profits. The counterfeit bills are almost perfect. We've already moved about $20 million into circulation. Sarah's jaw tightened. $20 million in fake currency. You know what that does to the economy? To normal people? I know. Porter said quietly. But Caruso made it clear. You were either with him or you were dead. He killed a cop who got too close last month. Made it look like a car accident. When Martin wanted out, Caruso couldn't allow that. Martin knew too much. So you killed him, I said. Not me. Caruso did it himself. Shot Martin in his own basement 3 days ago. But not his family, they're alive. Caruso has them. He's using them as leverage to make sure nobody talks. Relief flooded through me. Martin's wife and kids were alive. That changed everything. Where are they? Sarah demanded. I don't know. Caruso keeps his hostages in different locations, moves them around. But I know where the next shipment is happening. Tomorrow night, Warehouse 47 in the Maritime District. Caruso will be there personally to oversee the distribution. That's your chance to get him. Sarah and I exchanged looks. The notebook had mentioned Warehouse 47. Martin must have known about the shipment before he was killed. What time? Sarah asked. 11 p.m., but you're walking into a war zone. Caruso has at least 20 guys, all armed, and if he suspects anything, he'll kill the hostages and disappear. You'll never find him. After Porter was taken to a holding cell, Sarah and I sat in her office and planned our next move. We needed to bring in federal authorities we could trust, coordinate a raid on the warehouse, and somehow rescue Martin's family without getting them killed. This is too big for just us, Sarah said. We need help. Agreed, but who do we trust? Porter said there are 6 dirty agents. We don't know which ones. Sarah made a call. 20 minutes later, we were in a secure conference room with FBI Assistant Director Catherine Walsh and Secret Service Agent Michael Torres. The same Torres from the Ashford case, now back on active duty and apparently one of the good guys. We laid out everything. The counterfeit operation, the dirty agents, Vincent Caruso, the hostages. Walsh listened without interrupting, her face growing harder with each detail. This is a nightmare, she said when we finished. A counterfeiting ring protected by federal agents. If this gets out before we shut it down, the damage to our credibility will be catastrophic. With respect, ma'am, Sarah said, there are innocent people being held hostage. That's more important than the agency's reputation. Walsh nodded slowly. You're right. Okay, here's what we do. We raid the warehouse tomorrow night. But quietly. Small team. People we absolutely trust. Torres, you're in. Murray, Chin, you're in too. You've earned it. We move at 10:45, before Caruso arrives, but after his advance team sets up. We rescue the hostages first, then wait for Caruso. What about the dirty agents? I asked. We've already started internal investigations based on Porter's information. By this time tomorrow, all 6 will be in custody. But we can't move until after the raid. If we arrest them too soon, Caruso will know something's wrong. It was risky. A lot could go wrong. But it was the best plan we had. The next night, I found myself in body armor for the first time in my career, crouched in an alley near Warehouse 47. Sarah was on my left, Torres on my right, and 6 other federal agents were spread out in positions around the building. Walsh was coordinating from a command vehicle 3 blocks away. The warehouse was exactly what you'd expect. Old brick, broken windows. The kind of place where illegal business happens and nobody asks questions. We'd watched Caruso's advance team arrive 20 minutes earlier. For men, all armed, all checking perimeter before going inside. Thermal imaging shows 4 heat signatures on the ground floor, 3 on the second floor. Torres's voice crackled through my earpiece. The 3 on the second floor aren't moving much. Probably the hostages. Okay, Wall said over the comms. Torres, you take Chun and Murray to extract the hostages. The rest of you, hold positions until Caruso arrives. Once we have the family safe, we move on Caruso. We move quickly and quietly through a side entrance Torres had scouted earlier. The warehouse was dark, filled with the smell of dust and decay. We could hear voices from the main floor, Caruso's men, waiting for their boss. We found stairs leading to the second floor. Torres went first, weapon drawn, using hand signals to communicate. At the top of the stairs was a door, padlocked from the outside. Torres produced bolt cutters from his pack and cut through the lock. Inside, we found them, Martin's wife Jennifer and their 2 kids, Emily and Jack. They were tied to chairs, gagged, terrified, but alive. Sarah went to them immediately, cutting the ropes and removing the gags while and I covered the door. Jennifer sobbed as Sarah freed her, gathering her children and holding them tight. "Where's Martin?" Jennifer whispered. They said if we cooperated, they wouldn't hurt him. Sarah and I exchanged looks. Sarah shook her head slightly. Now wasn't the time to tell Jennifer her husband was dead. "We're going to get you out of here," Sarah said gently. "But I need you to be very quiet. Can you do that?" Jennifer nodded, holding her children close. We were halfway down the stairs when everything went to hell. The main door burst open and Vincent Caruso walked in earlier than expected with 10 armed men. He was in his 50s, barrel-chested, with the kind of confidence that comes from never losing a fight. "Where are my hostages?" Caruso's voice echoed through the warehouse. His men scattered, searching. We were trapped on the stairs, halfway between the second floor and the ground floor, with no good options. Torres made a decision. He handed me his radio and pointed to a window at the end of the second floor hallway. "Get them out. Fire escape. Go now." "What about you?" I whispered. "I'll be the distraction." Before I could stop him, Torres stepped into view at the bottom of the stairs and opened fire. The warehouse erupted in chaos. Caruso's men returned fire, bullets sparking off metal and concrete. Torres ducked back into cover, drawing their attention away from us. Sarah and I grabbed Jennifer and the kids and ran for the window. Outside, the fire escape looked like it hadn't been maintained in decades, but it was our only shot. Sarah went first, helping the kids down, then Jennifer. I brought up the rear, my gun out, watching the hallway. From below, I could hear Torres still engaging Caruso's men. The other federal agents must have moved in when the shooting started. I could hear multiple voices shouting commands, more gunfire. We made it down the fire escape to the alley. A federal agent I didn't recognize ran up to take Jennifer and the kids to safety. Sarah and I looked at each other. "Torres is still in there," she said. "I know." We ran back toward the building. The smart thing would have been to stay put, let the trained federal agents handle it. But Torres had saved our lives, saved the hostages. I wasn't leaving him behind. We entered through the same side door, moving carefully through chaos. The warehouse was a war zone. Caruso's men were pinned down by federal agents, but they were fighting back hard. I saw Torres behind a stack of crates, reloading, blood on his shoulder. "You're hit." I called out. "It's nothing," he shouted back. "Where's Caruso?" That's when I saw him. Vincent Caruso was trying to slip out a back door, using the firefighters' cover. He had a duffel bag over his shoulder, probably counterfeit money, and a gun in his hand. I couldn't let him escape. 15 years of being a PI, and I'd never caught anyone bigger than a cheating husband or a low-level criminal. But Caruso was different. Caruso was a killer, a counterfeiter, a man who destroyed lives and corrupted federal agents. If he got away, he'd start over somewhere else, hurt more people. I ran after him, Sarah calling my name behind me. Caruso made it to the back door and out into another alley. I followed, bursting into the cold night air just in time to see him climbing into a car. "Stop!" I shouted, aiming my gun. Caruso turned, his own weapon coming up. For a frozen moment, we stood there, me with my .38, him with what looked like a 9mm, both of us knowing someone was about to die. The shot came from my left. Sarah, coming through the door, fired twice. Caruso dropped his gun and fell to his knees, clutching his chest. The duffel bag hit the ground, fake $100 bills spilling out into the alley. Sarah and I approached carefully. Caruso was still alive, but barely. Blood was spreading across his expensive shirt, his breathing shallow. "It was just money," he gasped. "Just paper? Why does everyone care so much?" "Because it's not just paper," I said. "It's trust. It's the system that keeps society working. You broke that trust." Caruso laughed, blood on his teeth. "Society's already broken. I just made money off it." He died there in the alley, surrounded by fake hundreds that would never be spent, never ruin anyone else's life. The irony wasn't lost on me. The aftermath took weeks to sort out. All 6 corrupt agents were arrested and charged with conspiracy, racketeering, and accessory to murder. The counterfeit operation was dismantled, the equipment destroyed, and the fake bills that had already circulated were slowly tracked down and removed from circulation. Martin Brennan's body was recovered from a shallow grave near the warehouse, shot 3 times at close range. Thomas identified the body, held a small funeral with Martin's family, and tried to rebuild what was left of their shattered lives. The insurance money from Martin's old job helped, but some things money can't fix. Jennifer Brennan sent me a thank you card with a photo of her kids. They were smiling. It wasn't much, but it was something. It reminded me that sometimes, in this job, you actually save people instead of just cleaning up after they're dead. Sarah got a commendation for her role in taking down Caruso and rescuing the hostages. Torres recovered from his shoulder wound and went back to the Secret Service with promotion and a chest full of medals. Assistant Director Walsh personally called to thank me for my work, which was nice, but the check she sent was nicer. $20,000 for risking my life and taking down a counterfeiting ring. It was the biggest payday I'd ever had. I finally replaced that cracked window in my office, upgraded my coffee maker to something that doesn't require threats to work, and even took a week off, my first vacation in 3 years. I spent that week in a cabin upstate. No phone, no cases, just me and a stack of paperback detective novels. It was peaceful, boring but peaceful. By the end of day 3, I was ready to come home. Because here's the thing about being a PI. You can't escape what you are. The city calls to you, with its crimes and its mysteries and its broken people who need someone to fight for them. The money's never good enough. The hours are terrible, and you spend most of your time looking at the worst humanity has to offer. But every once in a while, you get to make a difference. You get to save a family, take down a criminal empire, prove that justice still means something. Those moments are rare, but they're enough. I got back to the office on a Monday morning to find Mrs. Chun had left egg rolls on my desk, her way of welcoming me back. I made coffee in my new coffee maker, sat in my chair that no longer groans, and looked out my window that no longer has a crack running through it. My phone rang. A new case, probably. Someone with a problem they couldn't solve alone. Someone who needed a PI who wouldn't quit until the job was done. I answered on the second ring. Murray Investigations. I said, Frank Murray speaking. Mr. Murray. A woman's voice said, trembling with emotion, I need your help. My daughter is missing, and the police say there's nothing they can do. They say she probably ran away. But I know something's wrong. I know she's in danger. I grabbed a pen and paper. Tell me everything. Because that's what I do. I listen to people when no one else will. I investigate when the trail goes cold. I find the truth, no matter how deep it's buried or how many people want it to stay hidden. The name's Frank Murray. I'm a private investigator. I work out of a shabby office that's getting less shabby with each case. I'm not rich, I'm not famous, and most of my cases still involve cheating spouses and missing pets. But sometimes, just sometimes, I get to take down a counterfeiting ring, save innocent lives, and remind myself why I chose this life. And on those days, when I'm standing in an alley with fake money blowing around like snow and a criminal dying at my feet, when I'm helping hostages to safety or racing against time to stop the bad guys, I remember what my old sergeant used to tell me back when I was on the force. Murray, you're too stubborn to know when to quit. It's going to get you killed someday, but it's also going to save a lot of lives. He was probably right on both counts. But I'm still here, still working cases, still fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. And as long as the phone keeps ringing, I'll keep answering. Because somebody has to. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications when the next Frank Murray case drops. From haunted mansions to vanishing heiresses, from murders in high society to counterfeit conspiracies, Frank Murray takes on the cases that matter and never backs down until justice is served. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next investigation.